Now, if you're struggling with self-sabotage and you don't know where to start, here, right here on this podcast, we're building the community. I want to remind you, breaking self-sabotage patterns takes time. You've been operating like this for years, every decade, like I was. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate the small wins. We're building a community of people committed to breaking these cycles. Well, hello. That was interesting. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on Terror to Triumph. This is a live podcast of the audio podcast that will be delivered Thursday as a recap on Buzzsprout. That's www.terrortotriumph.buzzsprout.com. We are here to welcome everybody, any survivor of childhood trauma, and show you that this is a safe place to have a communication where you can receive tips, learning, coping mechanisms, and other things that can help you along your journey to bring you to wholeness, to help you become one and become empowered to live your life as you should. My name is Alfonso Pelt, and I too am a survivor. And tonight we have a guest. I would like to introduce to everyone that this is Storm, and I welcome you for joining us tonight. Thank you for coming.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Yes. Hello, everyone.
Okay, Mrs. Storm might have a issue with her microphone.
Can you hear me now?
I don't know. I have to try to work on that while we are going forward.
Okay.
Um, Miss Storm, we are not receiving your audio.
Oh,
Um, I'm going to see if there's nothing on my end I could do. We are a fairly new podcast, so there will be a lot of things that you and I, as you as a listener, and I as the host, will be
hmm
going through as we learn how to navigate podcasting. We're doing this together. So I
yes.
want everybody to know that this is not a pre-scripted or anything like that. Even though we do have a format to follow, um, that we're learning as you are learning with us. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. I hope it works this time. Miss Storm, are you there? Can you hear us? Can we
Yes,
hear
I can
you?
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy.
Oh, you
Oh
know
my.
what? You're not going to believe this. For some reason, I just noticed this on my set. Don't hang up because it's an easy fix.
Okay.
We're just trying this over and over again. Okay, she's no longer there anymore. Okay, so um, I apologize, everybody. We are still going forward with the show. Um, we'll we will continue with our format for tonight. Again, I apologize for our technical difficulties tonight. We are still growing and learning, and I appreciate you all being patient with us. Um, as I was saying, over the next 4 weeks, I promise to you all, Storm and I will have the audio right next week. Uh, we're going to work on it probably tonight after the show. But um, we're going to explore trust from every angle. And tonight I'm going to lay the foundation. We're going to be talking about what trust actually means. Oh, yeah, she's trying to come back in, so I'm going to try to put her back in here.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I, yes, we can hear you now. Yay!
All right. Yes.
Okay, welcome, Miss Storm. Thank you for joining us again. And okay, I was just pleading with the audience, telling them that we were going to work on it after the show. But I'm so happy that you were able to come on tonight for this show because we are digging into trust and why it matters in survivors, and most importantly, how to start rebuilding it with our gonna is going to be vulnerable and it's going to be transformative. Here's what's coming. Tonight, in this episode, we're doing the rebuilding trust, starting with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, I'm sorry, it'll be week after next, because we're having a bye week next week. So it'll be week after next. Excuse me, my apologies, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's going to be how trust falters. So on the 22nd at 8 p.m., that'll be episode 5. Um, and then we'll go off into practical practices. So we're going to actually learn what actually we can do to rebuild trust today. Maybe we have some kind of uh, like mental workout we can do to start to learn how to build trust within ourselves. And then the last episode of the series will be episode 7, and that will be on sustaining trust, long-term healing. If you're struggling with trust, if you've been betrayed, if you don't know how to trust again, this mini series is going to be for you. So I want you to like, share, comment, send the word out to your family, send the word out to your friends. If you know somebody who's going through trust issues, maybe you're in a relationship now with a significant other that has trust issues, then you might want to just sit down with them and listen to this podcast over the next couple of weeks as we break it down for you. Let's start with a basic question. What's trust? On the surface, it's of our confidence. Like we trip dealer to sell us a car that's going to run, you know. But we've heard the stories. We go to a dealership and we buy a car, and this car turns out to be a limit. It breaks down on us within a month. So that can develop trust issues where you can't trust something. So now we're wary every time we go to a dealership, not just that one, but the one subsequent that we go to, we have this notion in the back of our head, this guy's trying to sell us some garbage. It's kind of the same thing with us trying to establish relationships, whether it be friendships, co-workers, or significant others, even with family members, trying to regain that trust back. So while on the surface it seems simple, trying to gauge whether someone is worthy of our confidence is not. For survivors of childhood abuse, trust is very complicated because the people who were supposed to protect us, our caregivers, hurt us in ways that we can't imagine for the general population. They hurt us instead. And that trust didn't just break, it shattered before we even knew what it was. Storm, would you like to interject something here?
We all have trust issues. Like you said, would it be co-workers, would it be people, even people in the church, that you doubt that you could trust, and they did something to betray that trust. So you just have to, you have to take a deep breath. And if you have a therapist or you have someone that you can talk to, then that person can help you get through these trust issues, because we all have been betrayed, or we have been accused, or we have been victimized in some kind of way that will allow us to have trust issues.
That's absolutely 100% on point. Um, as a child growing up in a Roman Catholic church school setting, they were kind of like one and the same. The school had a built-in church into it. Uh, I had some friends that were molested by the priests there, and this was going on before it became very public that priests in the Roman Catholic Church were abusing children and the clergy. And I was firsthand to watch how my friend changed from being one type of person into another. And his trust issues were shattered. And it broke my heart because I knew who he used to be. And I saw him turning into who I was. And I didn't like myself because of the trauma that I went through. I hated my life. And I didn't want him to have that life that I had. But there was nothing I could do about it at the time, because I didn't think I could do anything at the time about it. When I'm still dealing with my own issues at home. So, uh, yeah, trying to grow up in an abusive environment, you learn to doubt yourself. You learn that your feelings are wrong. You learn that your body signals, your fear, your discomfort, your pain should be ignored. So you even stop trusting yourself. And that's the real problem, because you can't rebuild trust with others until you rebuild it with yourself first. So let me tell you about, well, personal trust issues. I'm laughing. You have to forgive me. My laugh is not humorous about the situation. It's like a response that I know I have come to develop when facing this issue. I don't take this lightly. It's very serious to me. But that's one of my coping mechanisms. I've learned that I try to brush things off by laughing, like it's not as serious as it is. And that's because I find that I don't trust myself saying the right things around people. I've tried to be things that I wasn't just so I could fit in to the people around me. I tried to act as they act, so I could be cool with the cool group, as we used to say. The cool group was not the cool group, actually. The cool group always got you into trouble trying to be cool.
Yeah.
But I was always trying to fit in with those people. And that trust, I displaced trust trying to fit in because I didn't trust me being me, you know. And that was a hard pill to swallow when I realized that I can't go through life being everything to everybody that they want. I got to start learning to trust myself. I got to start learning it's okay to be me around other people. You know, if they don't like who I am as a person, then that's their problem, not my problem. I have to start trusting me and my thoughts and my wants and my desires. And my desires were to get out from underneath this weight that just has pressed me into the ground all my life. And coming out from under all that pressure is like is like I can't even describe how good that feels. But if you can imagine yourself suffocating and you're getting that first real full breath of air in your lungs, that's kind of how it felt. So learning and taking these steps is something that I had to learn. But let me break down how childhood abuse specifically destroys trust. Say your caregiver is supposed to be your safe person, the one who protects you. But when that person is also your abuser, your nervous system gets a mixed message. Safety and danger become the same thing. You learn that the people close to you are threats. Abuse is often unpredictable. You don't know when it's coming. You don't know what will trigger it. So you become hyper vigilant. You're always scanning for danger, which is what I was just telling you guys about how I was trying to fit in because I was trying to avoid any conflict. Because if you be yourself, there's going to be conflict. People are always going to want to question you. People are always going to want to challenge you. And I didn't want that. I was trying to avoid all that. So I became this invisible person that's malleable to all types of situations. And that wasn't me. That's really being no one. It's like being a ghost, but being present as a ghost. You know, people see you, they can talk to you, but they don't really know you. You don't really know yourself. And that's a hard pill to swallow, trying to get to that point and addressing it and acknowledging that point. So while you don't know where this danger is coming from and you're trying to avoid it at all costs, you can't relax. You can't trust that this moment of peace will last. Abusers often deny what happened. They minimalize, oh, that ain't hurt them. Uh, they liked it, and they make you question your own reality. No, that didn't happen. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. And maybe it's my fault. Maybe I deserved it. Over time, you stop trusting your own perceptions and you start believing the abuser's version of reality instead of your own. If the abuse is physical or sexual, your body becomes a source of shame and distrust. You learn to disconnect from your body. You stop listening to its signals. You can't trust your own body to keep you safe. And that's hitting home for me right there. The reason I say that is because your body and your mental state have to work in conjunction, right? It's like the computer to your car. It's got to work together with your engine for your engine to function correctly. If the computer don't work right, the engine don't work right. Well, if the engine's working perfectly, but your computer's malfunctioning, something in your engine might not work right, right? Even though it's a perfectly good engine. It's the same thing with our bodies. But when our mind is not working right and we're having misfires in our mind, our body won't function properly. People often wonder what's happening with our sexual performances, years down the road. We have a mental disconnect with our bodies. And we're wondering why we're not performing like we used to prior to the abuse or as we should from what we hear from our peers. We don't understand it. Like something we feel like we're broken, something's wrong with us, but we don't know what that is because we haven't had this discussion with anybody. We didn't know about this disconnect. We just said, well, I'm just not, there. Maybe I'm off. I had an off day or something. And we brush it off again.
Yeah.
Still not trusting our bodies. So, what do you think, Storm?
It's a lot. Like you said, you have gave many examples because I was raped and being a victim of rape that caused me to distance myself. That caused me to not
Mm,
trust. I have trust issues with everybody around me. I didn't know that I would distance myself away from my uncles until it took 10 years until it took an incident for me to speak out, then get help, you know. And in speaking out and getting help because of an incident that happened at that time, um,
mm,
I was able to get therapy, but I found out that I was treating men during that time era, I was treating them like they, I was bullying them because I became a bully. I became, because I didn't want to be taken for granted. I started standing up to giants, and even though people were bigger than me, you have to look at me standing 4'9". I stood up to giants. I get in trouble. I had arrest records because my trust issues got in the way, and I was the only
mm.
thing I knew to do was to beat up people if things didn't go the way I wanted them to go.
Understood. That's true. If things don't go the way we want them to go, and you think about it because we're already misfiring, from the trust issues. So now we have to look and say, what is that causing on the outside? When our trust issues cause us not to trust the people closest to us, what is that saying for the people who could help us? Because that's another source of people who would be placed in a position to be close to us. It has us not even trusting the people who could help us. And that's another way we end up isolating ourselves, we start to withdraw from the world, and we become um, like what, for lack of a better word, we become not hoarders, but like we become recluse. We become uh, disassociated with the world around us. We stop being social. You know, I mean, we are social in the basics, like just saying hi, bye, being cordial, excuse me. But as far as real conversation, we don't tend to engage because we don't trust. We're very, very hard to trust as survivors of sexual or childhood trauma. We find it very hard to allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to trust. So the result is we grow into an adult who doesn't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves, and we don't trust others, and we don't trust that the world is safe, and that's exhausting. Like I said, it's isolating, and that's why we're here. We're here to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Broken trust doesn't just affect your relationships, it affects everything. Let me paint a picture. You can't let people get close. You test them constantly. You push them away before they can hurt you. You sabotage good things because you don't believe they'll last. You choose people who mirror the dysfunction you've experienced because at least that feels familiar. You don't trust your own abilities. You don't apply for promotions. You don't speak up in meetings. You second guess every decision. And you surround yourself with people who validate your self doubt instead of challenging it. That might sound familiar to some of us.
Yes.
That's like conditions in your workspace. Or about how about in our health? We don't trust our body's signals. We ignore the pain. We push through exhaustion. We make choices that harm us because we've learned to distrust our own instincts about what's safe. And in our mental health, we struggle with anxiety and hypervigilance. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. You can't be present because you're scanning for danger. You might use substances or behaviors to numb that constant state of non trusting. Do you have anything to relate that to this topic right here, Miss Storm?
Mm, well, you have it, and you kind of like then concluded it. For what it is. Yes.
Okay, and I'll use something personal about myself. Um, the, the part where it says in the mental health section that you might use substances or behaviors to numb the constant state of not trust. I used to use sex as the numbing factor for not trusting. I didn't want to be committed in a relationship, but I wanted to feel like I was in one. So to somehow mediate that feeling, I would get close to someone to have sex with them to feel like I'm in a relationship, even though that was fleeting. Of course, it never lasted. And because of the issues of my trauma, even that was lackluster. So I had issues I had to work through, but the issues that already was was present in me because of my trauma and not seeking help for it caused me to be this way. My thought process was different. You know, I see somebody who might be interested in me, but already I'm thinking, use them before they use me. And that came from early on in my childhood when I started to try to have girlfriends and stuff like that. I was getting cheated on then without even doing anything. So I figured if that's the way it's going to be, I got to play the game. I don't want to get hurt anymore because the first time I gave my heart to somebody, that's what happened. Like a super slap in the face. The one time I tried to open up to somebody who wasn't family was that time where, my trust was deeply broken again. So I said, I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to start treating people just like she treated me. And we've all heard the colloquialism, hurt people hurt people. And that's been put out there so many times, but it's so true. You know, People slept around as a form of defense to get what they want, but what they want really wasn't the sleeping around. And that dysfunction in their minds caused other people to be dysfunctional like me, even further, who already was abused and hadn't addressed that situation. I think I was like 14 when that happened. And not the initial abuse, of course. I'm talking about the girlfriend situation. Just going into high school. Um, and uh, I was a whole nother situation with that. But I'm not trying to get off topic, but that was a personal cost. You know, not not being able to be myself, but allowing outside influence to change who I was already because I didn't have the trust issues. And that just further exacerbated that situation. So, forward, you have to realize one thing. We therapists, we are psychologists, we didn't come out the womb and say, I'm going to screw over everybody. That's just the way life is. We didn't come out that way. Things happen, situations happen. They're out of our control. This is not our fault. Our nervous systems learn to protect us. But now, as an adult, those protective mechanisms are keeping us stuck. And that's what we're here to change.
Yes.
So, how do we rebuild trust? How do we do that? We start with ourselves because we can't trust anyone until we start to trust ourselves. So, we have to start somewhere. Where's that point where we started? Well, the greatest part we can start is listening to ourselves. Listen to our body. Our body knows things our mind hasn't caught up to yet. It sends signals, tension, discomfort, ease, joy. For years, you've been taught to ignore these signals. Now we're learning to listen again. Start small. Ign- when you notice you feel tension in your shoulders, notice when your stomach tightens, notice when you feel calm. Don't judge it, just observe it. Your
Yeah.
body is trying to tell you something. Have you had any experiences with this, listening to your body, Miss Storm?
Oh, on many occasions, especially, through the challenges that have happened at work, when you get tensed up and your stomach start, bubbling and, it's like you can't eat, your shoulders is tensed up, your head,
Mm-hmm.
all the emotions above because you can feel the trouble coming, you can feel the animosity in the room, you can tell when things is about to change and your whole body going to it goes on attack, and it's you have to find a way to calm yourself. You have to teach yourself
Mm.
whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but you got to tell yourself to like relax, breathe, you know and let it flow, because you can
Mm-hmm.
end up with a heart attack, putting yourself through strains. And so you, like you say, you have to teach yourself, you have to teach yourself, how to, just remain, calm. You have to find relaxed things, what it is, charming bells, what it is, music that's calming. You have to find a way to calm your body because you have to listen to your body and you have to teach yourself.
True. See, and that's the key. What works for you doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
So, listening to our bodies, we also have to find ways to learn about ourselves. And listening to our bodies is the perfect way to do that. And we have to test it. Like, what calms us down? Try different things. We could try breathing, deep breathing techniques. We could try just sitting still, close our eyes, meditation. We could try a lot of stuff. Maybe working out works for people, you know, or doing something, maybe a hobby or housework. It depends on the person. Sometimes things that calm people could be the things that make another person nervous. So we have to explore ourselves to find out what those things are. And from a personal standpoint, um, because of my trust issues, I used to like not trust so bad. It would be like I walk down the street and I'm looking at everybody as a potential threat. Everybody.
Yep.
Granted, I live in Detroit, but people aren't as bad as I was making them out to be. Not everybody is that bad. People are generally good people, but are hyper vigilant. I become hyper vigilant when I'm looking at everybody as a potential threat. I position myself in case of an attack. You know, here's another thing. I didn't know I was doing this until I reached, uh, I believe it was my junior year in high school. I went to King High School, and I was wondering why people weren't always, I see people talking to each other all the time. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind talking to people. Why don't approach me? So I asked somebody, I said, what's going on? They said, oh, you always look like you mad. I didn't know I had that expression on my face. It's funny when you think about it, but they always thought I was angry, and which internally I was, but I didn't know I was showing that externally. That was another defense mechanism. Like, I do not want to be bothered. I didn't have to show that, but that was my defense mechanism saying that, leave me alone. Even though on the opposite side of it, I wanted friends. So I was self sabotaging without unconsciously, I was self sabotaging friendships, potential friendships that I could have had. So when we look at what we just observed and discussed, paying attention, things like that, you would never notice about yourself unless you become aware of it. And the only way I could have become aware of that is that through that conversation. I had to ask, why aren't people more willing to talk to me? Have you noticed that? It's like, because you always look mad. You always look like you're ready to fight. Well, there it is. And I didn't understand at the time exactly what that meant as the young lady was explaining it to me the best way she could. But it actually was my defense mechanism manifesting in my face. And that's how it was sabotaging my desire to get along with people. And I would have never known that had I not had that conversation. So we have to look at our feelings as information for our minds to process. They're not always rational, but they're always valid. Our feelings are valid. So if you feel unsafe, that feeling does matter, even if logically the situation seems safe. You're inside a police station, it seems safe, but for some reason you feel unsafe. Can I say that again? You're inside a police station. You should feel safe, but for some reason you feel unsafe. Okay, I'm gonna just leave that there because I could go into that one. That's a whole nother conversation. But I just left that there so you can get context. Okay. Now, if you feel joy, that matters too. It's not always just an unsafe feeling. You know, you can feel happy. That's a good thing. So you have to start practicing. When you feel something, pause and name it. I feel anxious. I feel safe. I feel angry. Don't try to fix it or change it. You're
Yes.
just acknowledging it. This is how you rebuild trust with yourself by honoring what you feel. You were about to say something, Miss Storm?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. um, we're going to build trust through consistency. We build trust with ourselves by doing what we say we'll do, even if it's small. Wake up in the morning. I'm going to say a prayer today. We say the prayer. We honor what we do, and no matter how small it is. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fix some toast. Do that. I'm going to wash the dishes. Do that. Take out the trash. If it's a million small things, that's how you start to rebuild trust with yourself because you say it and you do it. And then you start building it up. Say you'll drink a glass of water in the morning and you do it. Say you'll take a 10-minute walk and do it. You say you'll start a journal for 5 minutes and you do it. These small acts of self trust compound. Your nervous system starts to believe, you know what? I I can trust myself. I know I can follow through.
Yes.
And boundaries are an act of self trust. I'm sorry, you were about to say something?
No, I just say yes. I'll just comment and yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Boundaries are an act of self trust. When you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're telling yourself, I trust my judgment. I
Mhm.
trust that I know what's good for me. We start small. Say no to one thing this week. Notice how it feels. Does it feel scary? Good? Empowering? All of the above? The point is to practice trusting yourself enough to set a boundary. Got to practice self compassion too. We're going to mess up. We're going to break promises to ourselves. We're going to ignore our body signals. That's normal. That's human. The question is, how do we respond? If we respond with shame and self criticism, then we're reinforcing the abuse narrative. You're telling yourself you're not worthy of that trust. Instead, practice self compassion. You have to say to yourself, okay, I'm learning and I'm doing the best I can. I deserve this kindness, especially from myself. This is how you rebuild trust, not through perfection, but through showing up for yourself with compassion. Okay, I got to kind of hurry up. We got a lot. I'm telling you, it's a lot to cover. But this hour is not enough. I have so much more to run past you guys, and I don't want to just blast past it, and then you guys don't get the full segment. And we're gonna have to stop here uh, today. Um, we're gonna pause at segment 6, and we're gonna pick that up for next week. These are practices you can start today. That's where we're gonna have to pick it up. I'm sorry, not next week, but week after next, because next week is our bye week. Um, so I want you all to pay attention to yourselves. Start noticing things that you're doing, how you're feeling. When that feeling comes up, name it. Look at your situation. Is this relative to the situation I'm in? Am I fearing something and I'm not in a situation that needs to have fear present? And this is my anxiety kicking up when there's no need. We have to start looking at our feelings and also analyzing the situation we're in. Also, we have to pay more attention to uh, how we are. Okay. We have to pay, excuse us for our technical difficulties, but we have to start paying attention to our trust, which is start doing small things in our minds to learn how to trust ourselves. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. Rebuilding trust is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress. Other days you'll feel like you're back at square one. That's okay. That, that's normal. Healing isn't about perfection. It's about showing up for yourself again and again. Storm, you have any final words? Okay, we've lost Storm again. Like I said, we're going to fix this by next week. Um, you'll find resources on trust, and you have to understand and say this to yourself if you have no one else to say it to you. You don't have to do this alone. There's always someone you could talk to and go to, talk to them, and we can all find help in some way or another. Uh, I also want you all to know that uh, there are professionals that are willing to help us anytime. All these numbers listed here on your screen, they're who you call for different reasons. You have the National Child Abuse Hotline. You have Sexual Hotline. All of these national numbers, doesn't matter where you are, and that you can call and receive the help that you need or be assisted to be directed to the help you need. There's a suicide and crisis hotline. I believe that number is 988. Is it 9? I don't want to get it wrong. It is actually 988. I got it right. Okay. Next week we'll be picking back up from segment 6 of this. It ends at segment 9, but like I said, we had a lot to pack into this show. So thank you all for coming. My name is Alpha Bell, the Triumph. Thank you for listening, for your courage. Your trust matters. Your feelings matter. And you matter. God bless you.